Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Bubble Talk. Today, this week, I have myself a nice oolong milk tea with very low sugar, no ice, and no pearls from Chateau. Not bad. I wish it had some of those bubbles in it, but like I said, during lockdown, you can't get a good bubble tea because nothing's open this early, so I had to get it last night, put it in the fridge. But it's okay, it's not bad. It's once again, this is an oolong milk tea. I'm sure none of you can get a bubble tea right now either, unless you're in another country or something in a different time zone. Now, I got some good news and bad news. Well, I'll give you the bad news first. Bad news is we just heard in Malaysia that lockdown is going to go on for another 2 weeks. Good news is they're allowing hair salons to open to cut people's hair, which means that this is going to be gone next week. I am so, my hair is heavy right now. I don't actually tilt my head because, I'm trying to do like good body language. It's because my hair is too heavy that sometimes I have to tilt my head front and back. Either way. Welcome to Bubble Talk. I hope everyone had a wonderful week. Last week we had a great talk too, but this week we're going to talk about what? We're talking about boosting self-confidence. Now, this is a question that many people have been asking and saying, if anything, Sky, can you talk about boosting your self-confidence? So I'm going to talk about this today, but I'm going to talk first about why confidence, well, not why, but confidence is something that's very attractive. Like, people like other people who are confident. It's a normal thing. So when we find someone confident, we kind of look up to them. Example, sports athletes. Look at Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Usain Bolt. All these people, we look at them, they're so confident the way that they perform on a huge stage. We look at them and say, wow, these guys are amazing. And you want to be like them. How do we know that people want to be like them? Well, these are the people that get endorsements. Because if you see Cristiano Ronaldo using a shampoo, you want to be like him, so you'll buy the exact same shampoo too. If you had two shampoos next to each other, but one of them has Cristiano Ronaldo's face on it, you think, wow, I think I should try that one. Why? Because Cristiano Ronaldo's using it too, or he endorses it. In most cases too, he's not using that shampoo. He probably has a way better one at home. Either way, we're going to go to a second part though. It's not just people who are athletes, but people also like movie stars. Right? Movies and movie stars is such a, we look at these actors and actresses that are acting on the big screen, making themselves vulnerable, that we could never, put ourselves on such a big screen. We look at that confidence and we want to be like them. But the interesting thing is not so much the person, it's actually the roles they get that make them so popular. So I love movies. I know lots of people love movies, but the movies that people really, really enjoy are like hero movies. Or even today we call them superhero movies. And it's always about someone going to save the world, save the country, save their family. And you have to understand that, most of these movies, where are they coming from? A lot of them, or actually the vast majority of these Hollywood movies, well, it says Hollywood, which means it's from America. Now, you have to understand where the influence of these movies come from. And the interesting thing is, if you look at America, America's a Christian nation, and the story that they base all these things on is exactly the same story of basically Jesus. And you're like, oh, it's the story of Jesus, and it's true. Jesus is one man, an underdog, no one thinks he's anything, from a small town, and he saves the world. One person saves the world, right? In the same way, think about the latest movie, Avengers Endgame. At the end, who's the one that saves the world, saves the universe? It's one guy, right? It's Iron Man. And this Iron Man guy is like someone who has these flaws. Sometimes he's arrogant or this or that, and people think that he can't do much. He has a weapons company, and he's the one that saves the world. And at the very end, there's a big sad funeral because this one person that everyone liked and this, and this, but all of a sudden, he's the one that snapped the finger and he died. It's the same concept. And the one thing when you look at the story of Jesus, we'll look at a Bible verse in Luke chapter 23, verse 34. And basically it says, at the end where Jesus is dying, right? Where people have basically like slaughtered and like tortured him. The last thing he says is like, Father, forgive them. And you're like, wow, where do people like this come from? Because even for us, when we find people like that in the world, it's attractive and amazing. Someone who goes through so much, and yet the integrity and how they keep themselves good is something that attracts many people. So it's not just Iron Man. You just go back in Hollywood, how many hero movies are there? What is it showing? People like these types of things. People like anything with confidence. And now, we have not just sports athletes and movie stars, but we're also looking up to each other, right? To regular people. And the thing I want to talk about today is why, how do I get this self-confidence? Where can I get this self-confidence from? So I'm going to start with the first point today. And the first point is repetition, right? Repetition. The reason why repetition is the first and probably the most important part of self-confidence is because we have to realize is that confidence is not something you get, right? It's not something like going, hey, can I get, how much for that confidence? Well, it's going to cost you $124,000. Here you go. And boom, you're confident. It's actually a skill that you need to develop. Repetition basically means practice, doing it over and over and over and over again. If you look at all the good speakers, all the good athletes, all the good entrepreneurs, every single one of them had to practice over and over and over again. Repetition is the first and the most important part of confidence that you have to realize. Whether it's knowledge, whether it's a skill, and put it this way, you have been doing this all your life for the things that you have right now. You're like, well, what skills? The skill of walking. When you learn to walk, it's not like you just get up out of your mom's stomach and then start running around like the doctor's table. What happens? You're actually starting by, you can't even move. You're lying, and the first thing you have to learn is to roll over. Like a dog, right? The first thing you're learning to do is to roll over. And then when you start to learn how to walk, you fall over, you fall over, you fall over, you fall over. And what happens is repetition comes in. And the more you do it, the stronger you get, the better you get, and the more confident you are to do things. When you first started to walk, you're not going to have confidence of walking 10 feet from here to your mom. You don't have confidence because you're not good at it. But as you keep walking over and over again, now we have confidence to do what? As you get confidence to run a marathon. What is that? It's like, how many kilometers? It's like 42 kilometers. People have confidence to run a marathon. Why? Repetition. You see, even in the Bible too, it's very similar. There was a prophet, his name was Elijah. Very, very interesting, because in this story, there's a huge drought in Israel. And then Elijah's the one that has to pray to bring the rain back, right? So this is between God and this prophet. It's God's own prophet. But if you look at 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 44, what does it say? It says, on the seventh time he prayed. Seventh time. It wasn't the first time. It was the seventh time. And this is even between God and his own prophet, which means what? Even God understands. And even Elijah, the prophet, even though he's the prophet of God, he also understood that repetition is necessary. If it doesn't work the first time, you got to do it again. If it doesn't work the second time, you got to do it again. You got to do it again, and you got to do it again. It took him 7 times, right? For most people, the biggest problem is we don't understand that confidence isn't like something that you have to do over and over again. Most people believe that confidence is a one-time thing, and they'll say, oh my gosh, this person's so confident. Oh, they're so confident at chewing gum. Well, maybe not chewing gum, but let's just say they're confident, right? But we don't know the process they went through. You see, people who are confident at something that they've never tried, that's not confidence. That's like false confidence, because you can't be confident in doing something well if you've never done it before. But then why is it that some people are very confident in doing new things? It's not that they understand that, it's not that they think they're going to do well the first time. It actually means that they understand that they're going to make mistakes, and it's okay. Haven't you seen those people confident doing new things? They're trying it, they make a mistake, they're like, oh, no big deal. They pick it up again, they do it again. And we're kind of like, oh, wow, look how confident they are. But think about it. We're focusing on the confidence when they made a mistake, but they're okay with it. We have to also understand in our heads, the thing that they're switching your perception is, it is okay to make mistakes. It's okay. It's part of gaining confidence. Every single thing that you're good at right now, you were never born with it. It is a skill that you kept repeating, and then you got better at it. And that's why the first skill, or the first thing you need to do to gain confidence is repetition. Let's move on to the second one. The second one is attitude towards yourself. It's your attitude, okay? So let's take a look at the book of Psalms, chapter 13, verse 2. And in Psalms chapter 13, verse 2, it's a very, very interesting verse. Because in this verse, in Psalm chapter 13, verse 2, basically, this guy is like, how long, right? How long? Because, it's not working out, and this is why we keep losing. No, it's not you keep losing just because. It's because you think you're going to lose. You're scared. The attitude towards yourself plays a huge role in your success in the future. Which means you have to realize how powerful your thoughts about yourself is. Because what happens is if you think something and you believe it, then it becomes reality. Now, I'm not talking about just any thought. Like, I'm not just telling you like, oh, you want to be rich? Okay, I want to be rich. And then that's going to come true. That's not my point. My point is not that whatever you think is going to come true. It is the thought that is strong and persistent. Strong and persistent thoughts, those are the things that you make into reality. It's the things you keep telling yourself. If you draw a conclusion about something or yourself, what happens is you start to act in that way. It becomes reality. So let me give you an example. When you draw a conclusion about yourself, there are two things that happen. Okay, and I want you to think about this very carefully, even about your own life right now and why you don't have that confidence. You don't have the confidence because sometimes we draw conclusions about ourselves that we're not good. We're not good at this. We suck. We're terrible, right? So if you finally draw that conclusion in your mind and it's strong and persistent and you really, really believe that you're not that good, two things happen. Number one is this negative attitude towards yourself. Number one is you look for evidence that proves that you're not good. The moment you draw the conclusion and you say you're not a good person, you're not this, you're not good at this, then every time something bad comes out, you say, see, I knew it. I'm terrible at this. Look at that, and look at this, and look at this. That's the first thing that happens. Second thing that happens is, even when something tells you it's not true, you won't believe it. Or you kind of cast it aside. You'll discount anything against what you already drew conclusion to in your head. Example is, if you think you're terrible at something and then you actually do it well, what do? Oh, that was lucky. Oh, yeah, this never happens. No, it's just luck. It's just luck. So what do? You discount the things that goes against what you say, which means that you put yourself in the position you are guaranteed to fail. What you have to understand is the power of the way you think about yourself, the attitude towards yourself plays a huge role. It stunts you and it stops you from excelling and it stops you from growing confident. Why? Because if you stop yourself from excelling and if you think you're not good at it anyways, remember, confidence is a skill that you're building, but if you stunt yourself, you'll never get that good and you'll always be in the position of, I'm not that good. You keep making mistakes because you don't grow. What's number two? It is the attitude towards yourself. The third and the last one today, right? The third point I want to make today is the environment around you. Okay, now what does that mean? The environment around you has to do with two parts. Okay, and this environment around you is, are you in a good environment or in a bad environment for your confidence? Remember, it's all about confidence. So are you in a good environment or in a bad environment for your confidence? So the first type of influence that we have is the people around us. And I want you to take a look at this verse in Job chapter 4, verse 7. And if you read this is Job's friend. Now, you know what situation Job's in? His family died. He lost all of his wealth. His health is deteriorating. And his friend comes to him and says, you know what? It's probably you. It's probably because you made a mistake. And you know what? God doesn't hurt people that don't do anything bad. Could you imagine that? That in your worst situation, your friend comes by your side and you're like, dude, oh, why do you have cancer? Because you are a terrible eater. And you know what? You deserve it. And can you imagine if your friends are doing that? And here's the crazy part is there are some people who have friends around them that are like that. It's crazy, right? And even when you do something good, they look at the bad parts. It's like, oh, look at this. I achieved. I got the award. Yeah, well, you only got the award because the person who's better than you, they made a couple mistakes. Yeah, what matters is, the people around you make a difference. They do. It's who you choose to put around you. If they're constantly negative, if they're constantly people that don't, that are always looking at the bad side of you or discounting all the good things that you've done or always putting you down, like think about it. Job, in his worst situation, friends are saying this to him. Imagine what they're saying when things are good. Your environment around you plays a huge role, right? And the people you put around you can either help or stunt your growth, your confidence. Now, the second part is the environment you put yourself in is actually you yourself, right? You actually play an even bigger role of your environment. So let's take a look at this verse in Philippians chapter 2, verse 14, 15. And it says, do everything without grumbling or complaining, right? And you're like going, oh, right? You look at yourself like, oh. So I look at myself right now and I say, how many times did I grumble and complain about my hair? About not having a hair salon that's open and my hair is growing over my ears. I'm looking like an animal, a beast, shaggy. It's like, some people are like, hey, your hair looks fine right now. And the answer is, it's called 2 handfuls of gel. And that's why I can stay still for so long. Why? Because I've cemented it to my head. But don't complain. Don't grumble. But what does it say? You have to be someone who is trying to get better too. Don't complain and grumble about it. Don't sit there saying things are bad and terrible. But you have to do something. You have to be the one that has the environment that you put yourself in on the inside and the outside plays a huge role. And to be honest, you have to also understand is you can also make the environment better, even if your friends are not that good or they're always negative. How? Well, the one thing that people should be doing, like, what Job's friend did. Job's friend is like, you suck, you did terrible, it's your fault that your children died. Oh, thank you very much. It's your fault your wife died and you lost everything. Oh, thank you. So normally people do look for the bad things. And it's not like something that we're trying to get people to be negative or trying to get people to look down. It's just that when things are okay, you don't notice anything. Why? Because things are going fine. The only time you ever notice anything happening is when things are bad because it sticks out. Or when things are really good. And it really has to be good to stick out. And that's why when you look at one small thing that doesn't work, it's very, very easy to point out. Now, the thing you have to do is, in order for you, like I'm talking to everyone in the audience right now, to affect your environment, what you need to do is to encourage and praise the things that you want or the things that you would like to become. Like behaviors that lead to good confidence. So most of the time, people are pointing out the bad things, but that's not the way we should be doing it. It's not about pointing out the bad things. It's about praising and encouraging the good things. This is what has to change in our hearts and our minds. Let me tell you this interesting study, because I'm an athlete. I don't look like it right now because I haven't exercised since the lockdown, but I am somewhat of an athlete. Okay, I'll prove it later. So when it comes to coaching, there's a very interesting study done. And most coaches, like when you talk professional sports or in the university or sometimes even high school level, even in high school level, after a game, after whatever, after something happens, the coaching staff shows video and they usually show all the mistakes that they made. And they're going over all the mistakes. Hey, you should have done this, you should have done this, you should have done this, right? And then they did in this study, they did another group, right? Another group of other group of teams that instead of showing all the mistakes, they showed all the good things they did on tape, even if it didn't even turn into a goal, even if it didn't lead to a goal, a score, a touchdown, or anything like that. But they just showed, hey, look, you did a great job here. You see that? That was perfect. And when they did these two studies, they showed that the teams where they're showing all the good parts, even if it didn't lead to a goal, their teams improved far quicker. What does that mean? It means that we have to be people that incentivize or encourage and praise the good things. And when people start to see these things, their minds open up. They don't become defensive, right? Because it's sometimes, it's hard when someone is like, hey, you made a mistake. And obviously the very first reaction we have, and it's normal, is to defend, oh, no, it's not my fault because I'm terrible at these things, right? No. What we want to do is we want to make sure that the praise and the encouragement and the love goes out far more than what is negative. I'm not saying never say bad things, but usually we only say bad things. And this is what causes people to become a lot more defensive, right, about the things that are being said about them. If you want to make a great environment, an environment of confidence around you, one of the best drills you can do is you have to kind of ingrain into your mind, making sure that you praise and you talk and you just encourage the things the behaviors that you want. It's even good business practice. Those of you who are in businesses, same thing. If you're the boss and all you do is point out bad things about people, people hate you. I'm sorry, if you haven't realized that yet, they don't like you. Yeah, I don't know, it might be awakening for some of us, right? But if you're the one always praising and encouraging, say, wow, great job, you really did this we couldn't do this without you, then people will open up more and they'll actually improve much better too. So I hope that this helped you guys out a lot about boosting self-confidence. There are a lot more things that we could talk about too, but these are the 3 things I really wanted to key on today. What was it? Number 1 is repetition, and this is the most important one. Your confidence will get higher and better the more you do something, the more you practice, and the better you get at it, and the more you achieve. So there's number 1. Number 2 is your attitude, right? Your attitude towards yourself. Make sure that your attitude towards yourself is healthy and don't draw any conclusions. Why? In the end, the only conclusion is, the guarantee is the more you do something, the better you get. So don't sit there saying, I'm terrible at it. And the last thing is, make sure you have a good environment around you. Sometimes, some of your friends shouldn't be there. Why? Just they bring everything down all the time. And you want to make sure you have a good environment around yourself and good, healthy habits around you too. Okay, so I'm very grateful that all of you were able to join in today for the Bubble Talk on boosting your self-confidence. I hope that a lot of you will kind of put these things into action and get the self-confidence going each and every day. And that's going to bring